So the Shin Ayin Hey Nahoidin, right? Tzav Yeshua is Yaakov. He's speaking three, invoke three psukim. It's all the same general inyan. Vayeitzei Yaakov. So Yaakov is Yud Ekev, and he goes to Beersheva, which is B'chinas Nailis B'Yosef, basically Atzilus. Vayelech Charona Charei Nafshel Olam. So it's Hamshacha of the extremes. That's the two edges of the Kruvim. But before that explained the cup of Yosef and the cup of David. David is gracious to his S, has to be elevated because David is Malchus, and Malchus descends into Biyah. So there's Avodas Berurim that's required, refinement to receive the bracha. Whereas the Gvi of Yosef does not have to be elevated because he's Yisoid. To begin with, he is in the Olam HaKdusha, in the Olam of the Atzilus, the Maila, the Beira. Not just the Beira, but as he said, from the Mittel Rebbe, and this is the beer on the two Kruvim, that it's the Ein Sof. The two extremes of the Ein Sof. One extreme is, one edge is Ein Sof in Zoh, and the other extreme edge is Malchus. Now, why did he bring that, friends? What did the Mittel Rebbe's word add to us when we just have to throw more Kabbalah in? What's the point? Somebody answer it. You hear my question? I'm just asking to explain what the Mittel Rebbe's geography is helping us here. He said that Yosef is Yesoid and David is Malchus. So Bechitzoni is just one level up. It's one darge in the Esesvirus, in the seven in Zoh, by invoking by the Mittel Rebbe's teaching. What does he tell us? It's not one level up. It's Bein Aroich. Yesoid belongs to Ein Sof and Malchus belongs to Bria. It's an infinite gulf between them. That's the two Kruvim. And that's what Hamshacha is happening from. What did he say about the two kinds of Hamshacha earlier? Again, about why Kosi Shuis Esa. Says something, why Kosi Shuis Esa? The Mashpia goes down to the Makabel. Why is there need for the Esa? Aside from that, we just said no, because we're talking about Biyah. Biyah needs Birur. But he said something very significant about the Mashpia. The true Mashpia does not get down to the level of the person. He doesn't compromise himself, even though he's dealing in that person's matziv. The extreme example is Yechidus. The Rebbe is mislabish in the person's world and understands it better than he does. Immeasurably so, but at the same time, he doesn't compromise his level. Even though there is the inyan of, we're learning down Rambam, not a Rambam. Oh no, it's the Parsha of Nechi Ofa Ve'efer, that making the Paraduma necessitates becoming Tomei, making the Meichatos. So there's that element as well, that it becomes so tzorachin to reconcile those two things, because he emphasized the true mashpia. So the answer is the bechitzonius. Bechitzonius there is. I mean, the fact is that the mashpia is exposed to things that he would, and hears things and so on, that he would never be there. So bechitzonius there is a contamination. and not b'pnimius. That's why he's a mashpia. That's why he's a rebbe. So that's a very critical point. That's Yosef's hashpah. But Malchus, David HaMelech has malamata l'mayla. Okay, we're clear. But all the three psukim that all convey the same general thrust. Number one, Vayeitzei Ya'akov Beersheva. Next. Tzava Yeshua is Yaakov. Command, Yaakov is the one that connects the union of Yeshua all the way down Lamata. What's Yeshua? We said. The Maimon says the Shin Ayin Hey, or the Shin Ayin Nahoidin, the 370 or 375 lights. Which I told you, I'll try and find out where that number comes from. The answer is Kale Aleph Lamed. If you spell it out, Aleph Lamed Pei, and Kale Aleph Lamed, and you add it up, it's 185, and times 2, Kale, that's 370. And the 5 are the Hekvuras, that's Malchus. They're just giving you the Kabbalah of the number 370. It's Kale twice, spelt out Aleph Lamed, Aleph Lamed Pei, Aleph Lamed Pei, Lamed Mem Daled. I don't know what I said before. Aleph Lamed Pei, spelling out Aleph and spelling out Lamed. Yeah, is it clear? That's at 185. You can do it yourself and take my word for it. Okay. So now we're up to the third paragraph, Klolos HaHeferish. The third paragraph, he made the point about the Gvi HaKesef, that the Hamshach is so profound that Yosef said to do what? What was the last point he said? Yosef instructs that it be placed where? That's right, the smallest, the youngest one, the smallest saddlebag or satchel. Klolos, now continuing now, this chilik between the Kaisis Shuis Esa, that's of David, and the Gvi HaKesef of Yosef, which is Yisoid. So in Avodah, Klolos HaHefresh ben Nesiyas HaKais HaGviyas HaKesef B'Avodas Adam, the difference between the two in Avodah is, well, Derech HaHefresh ben Tefillah LeTorah. It's similar to the difference between Tefillah and Torah. Tefillah, what's davening in Yoda Halah Saldam Lamata Lamayla? Davening is man reaching out to God. It's from below to above. And he's bringing with him all his engagements in the world, all his avodas haberurim. We should call it David, significantly, David HaMelech, Eilecha, unto David, he composed this, and he said, Eilecha Havaya Nafshi Yesa. Unto you, Hashem, I lift my soul. That's similar to the cup of salvation I raise up. Gvi HaKesef, and what's a Gvi HaKesef? Not Tefillah. That's the union of Torah. Yosef is Torah and David is Tefillah. The at length, right? Could you do a moshel? Now, interesting, he gives us a moshel. Why a moshel is needed, I don't know. I think we'll leave for the next point. We'll see why. Two people, one's at one above, one's below. They can connect in two ways. The lower ascends, or the upper descends. Do we need a moshel? To push it. We'll see for the next thing. And that's Tefillah and Torah. So maybe we'll see why. Now, let's give Inyan. Now to explain further, Hagbah, the Kais, Yishois, Esra, Pratyasesa, to explain this in greater detail, the Avodah of Melamata Lamaila, lifting up the cup. He says, Malchus, this is Biyah, Avodas Abirurim, Tihine, Noisef al Beizei, Fanemanal, Bachibud, Elian, Vetachten. In addition to the two ways we just described, either the upper fellow descends or the lower fellow ascends. Either the descent or the ascent. Yeshna Oifen, there's a third way. that the upper one descends a little bit, a few levels. There's a meeting. Now that's why the marshal is helpful, because if it's a marshal of water going down and fire going up, whatever, any other mashalim, that's what they are. But by giving a marshal to people, there is latitude, there's movement here. There's a possibility of a third yichud, and that is kind of meeting halfway. And then it comes to Amshocha when the tachten also ascends. So this is the inyan. This is Kretzi Yeshua in order to draw down the highest level of the Shin in the Hayrin. 370, 375 lights in Malchus, in the Kos, that's Yeshua in the cup, in Malchus, the recipient, the Makabal, Bia, creation. Loi Maspik, it's not enough, Shelyan Yerid, Mamdragose Kamamad, that the alien descend. Going to Yechid, it's got to be Achana. And so the Chli is Gamaliyas HaTachten, there has to be the Aliyah of the Tachten. That's lifting up the cup. Then he's able to receive that which the alien gives. The alien is descending to his world, but it's a relationship, so there's got to be some movement from the recipient. Where's the connection happening? The alien v'tachten ba'inyin, the case Yeshua says so. Yisoid is the connector. Yisoid is mamash, is empathy, getting to the person's world. So who's the tachten? The tachten is Malchus. So you've got to get up at least one rung. It's a big gulf, true, between Malchus and Yisoid. Yisoid is bound up, ultimately invested in it, is the edge of Eir itself, but still, you've got to. It's the point of reaching out. So the B'chinas HaYisoid. So the Malchus, the recipient, has to be elevated at least to the level of Yisoid. The Mekabel Dashba, that's where it happens. V'yididus ha'elim B'chinas Yeshuos, and the upper, the Yeshua, the salvation descends ad B'chinas HaYisoid. So that's the meeting point. So the Bible will explain it further. Looks like it, yes. Boy, and it. At that encounter, B'chinas HaYisoid, Nasa Chibur, the alien v'tacht, that's where they become one. And Shazau Inge, that's what it says, the Chashem Magdula, V'agvur, V'ateferetz, V'anitzef, V'ahoid. So it stops at Yehoid. Where's Yesoid? Yesoid is Kikoil B'ashamayim B'va'oretz. Now what does that mean? So what's the koil? Everything in heaven and earth. So the meaning is the Achid B'Shemaya V'ara. He unites heaven and earth. That's Yisoid. The meeting point, the fusion of Mashpia and Makabel. 22 tells us, I looked in the Targum yesterday, I didn't see it. I don't know which. There's another Targum, and in Zohar. The Zohar teaches, the Zohar says clearly goes on Yisoid. That's all it says. But this teach, the Achid, I have to look further. It's not in the standard Tanakh. It's a Targum Yosef. They're not Targum Yonus. It's a different Targum there. Koponim. This, by the way, is a bracha that David HaMelech said. The hemshech to the previous Maimon. Baruch Hashem leil moment v'yomen. It's what David HaMelech said when he prepared the whole Beis Hamikdash. And the people brought all of their. They brought everything, all of the materials needed, and set the whole stage. And Shlomo built it Lepoel, but David, and he blessed the people. That's where all this comes from. Chashem Agdullah. And Baruch Hashem, Amen, V'amar Kol Amen, Alleluia. That's all in that context of. That's what we learned the previous Maimon. He was Misakin to say it in the first Vayeitzei. He said it just before they built it. Just context. When you're davening in the morning, this comes from. It's not just context. Kavona is what we're talking about here. Where's the gili of all of this? Isn't the Beis Hamikdash, Yilamata? At any rate, so he's saying here, where's the chibur? Isn't you say the move on? So this one it's understood. Gam b'degel givia Yosef's shalis. Shali Yosef beginnes say Yisoid. He's Yisoid. Sheshamu mokim achibur the elim etachton. That's where the fusion happens. Lachein leitzorech leis bayin agboy. It doesn't have to be lifted. He's descending there, but the lifting has to be malchus to makabel. Okay, we'll learn together going further, friends. Didn't have a chance yesterday to go further. Let's go. Beis Daled. So the distinction we said before between the two, Rabbi Yosef and David, Shekos Yeshua is Bechinas HaMalchos, the cup of salvation, that's Malchos Lemata b'Madrega, is a lower level, Megvia HaKesef, than the level of Yosef's goblet, which is Yisoid. That's why Shalachein Tzorch is Begin Hagba, that's why the Mata has to ascend to connect to Yisoid. Harizeh Rak Bizman Hazeh. That's nowadays. Sheyeshna Seder, now is the Seder of the haves and have-nots. The Mashpia, Makabel, Dochor, Venukva, male and female. Now in the Bizman Hazeh, till Mashiach comes, till the birur happens and is complete, what is the structure? It's in a way Shekeich HaZochor Harbe Yosem Keich HaNekeva. The male has greater force than the female. Shalachein, therefore, as the Gemara, it's a Gemara, Yivamis Haish Darkei Lichvoish. It's the manner of the male to conquer. Or other places, Borim said this, he brings home, he conquers. Panos is a war. That's why Lechem is Oisies Milchoma. To put bread on the table, it's a battle. So Lichvoish. He's the provider. Vinyone ba'avoida, what is that in avoida? Sheklolis in abirudim. So now the birudim nas al yedei shema dafke. It's down to Shema. Anybody tell me Shema? We had it in the previous Maimah. What does it mean? If anybody remembers? But you remember that the Shemas, the different numbers are the different what? Miluyim. Yeah. So what's the miluy of Shema? It yields 45. It's the lowest number, so I should tell you right away. Aleph, yeah. So that is the inyan of, that's the Shema Aleph, that is Aluf Aleph, that's the male, that's Bechlal, it is Zoh. Sorry. Kidua Shema Mevarer Ban. What's Ban? Yimata 52. What's the middle of Shem Ban? Huh? Hey. That yields 45. And which hay we talking about? The second hay of Shem Havai. So what is that? Malchus. So that's Zoh, that's Zoh, that's male and female right there. Ma is Zoh, that's Shem Ma. And Ban is Malchus, big matri also Behemoth. But this Behemoth Rabbah, we'll see, that's the higher. Akoponim, so simple language, that the male elevates. That's his avodah, is to conquer and elevate and redeem the sparks. Hein bebirur rishon. So this avodah happens in the first birur, befrat bebirur sheni. So we need to look there. We encountered this before. What does he send us? See to the earth. There's two birurim. It's milamayla lamatan, the mederech erchoize. But at any rate, in both birurim, what dominates is Shema, the mashpia. Be'ez Hashem, I'll look for that. Pastor, don't remember right now more detail on Birur Sheni, but that's by from Klali.
That's a bittul hayesh and bittul ayin.
Okay.
He's speaking about there. He speaks about the two birurim, bittul hayesh and bittul ayin.
Okay. Shkoyach. All right. So this is all now in the avodah bisman hazeh. L'lo said lovay bismara birurim. So lo said lovay. When the birurim is completed, azay this ala b'chinas malchus, and malchus is elevated, source is revealed. Like titztorich lekabel b'chinas zoh. One have to receive from zoh. It's like the sun and the moon, right? Now the moon is mekabel, but then lo said lovay, it'll be as it was at the outset of creation, but perfected. And no longer will Malchus have to receive from Zoh, given she is Shavim B'Kim, they'll be equal in their stature. But more than that, we say the Mizeh, Shah Malchus tis Allah l'mayli Yosem Zoh, Malchus will be higher than Zoh. K'mishakosov, Nekevet Teseviv Gever, the female, listen, Yemiyo, will transcend the male. V'oz Yeshem Ban, that's the Behemah Rabbah. Then Shemban, the source of Malchus, is higher than Ma. And that's why Lasid Lova, the David Dafke, on whose cup we get a bench, the cup of David the Melech. And the David Avdi, Nosyilehem La'ilam, Ephraim is Yosef. Mashiach is David. So Lasid Lova, it's Dafke David the Melech, Dafke Malchus, not Yosef, not Ephraim. K'may Merazal, beautiful medrash here. Gmarim Sachim, it's all, yeah, Gmarim Sachim. Also, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasis, there's beautiful songs to this. Also, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasis, Suda L'Tzadikim. Mashiach will come to be the great Fabrengen, Lachash Eichlen V'Shoisin, after they eat and drink, Noisin Avram Avinu, Koisha Bracha. So they give Avram Avinu the Koisha Bracha to Levarech the bench of Omer, and he says to them, I will not bench the cheshem that he gives them. To look it up. Likewise, the Yitzchak, he also declines with the Ya'akov. I will say to David, take it to Baruch and bench. And he will say to them, I will bench Eden, and for me it's appropriate to bench. Why does it go to David, not to the big mashpiyim? Because the fish said, Lava Yimshuv, but Malchus, because Dafkin David will be in Malchus the greatest Giloyim. The Gemara says in Yuma, Shekois David la'asid Lava, how big will be this cup? Yemachsek Reish Chaf Aleph Lugin. It will contain 121 Lugin. What is the measure 121? Shenemar koisi revoya. My cup overflows, and revoya is begematria reish chaf aleph. And what's the connection? It's arich, b'chinas arich keser. The same, right? Same letters. Aleph, reish, chaf. Sheyumshach v'yizgala oz. The keser will be revealed when, where, b'chinas hamalchus and malchus. Yeah. So the avoid the Zman Golos, the Ikir is the Mashpia. But once the period is over and the source of the Makabal is Nisgala, on the contrary, then the Maila Dafke Malchus, Dafke the Maila, in Kreis Yeshua is Dafke David the Melech. So Mashiach is Ben David and not Ben Yosef. The first one is Ben Yosef. The second one is Ben David. Let's continue. But Yuvan B'Toisves B'Yeh, we'll understand this even further. Mashiach Ben Yosef is the Amshach, is the Biru now. That's Yosef. Case issue is Esa. The need for the Aliyah of Malchus, the Mashpia being Shema. But then Mashiach Ben David, that's the final destination. You've mutations be but now, so understand this by bringing behemshach to the maimer of Sada the Rebbe Rashab, which maimer is he referring to here? Mittel Rebbe? Yeah, sorry, Mittel Rebbe. Yeah, it's basically quoting from there. Yeah. Yeah, the one just quoted in the beginning of Yeshtakasha to the oh no, to the sorry. But Ksav Yad of the Rebbe Rashab, that's from Torah L'chayre. Yeah. Yeah, Chaim, yes, you agree? Which mime is it? One he just quoted, the most recent quotation, which started this whole beer. Right, okay. Yuven b'toisves beer apia mavu b'emesh ha'chamayim elanal the gviya kesef. It's a middle Rebbe is my mother. Shims b'ksav yad v'adayin li'nitvas, it hasn't been published yet. So this is the middle Rebbe. Shebizman hazeh shaykh inyan abchedi l'ruven. It explains there that zman hazeh. So the firstborn is Reuven. But Lasid Lovei, Yosef. But Lasid Lovei, so the firstborn will be Yosef. See the Gemara there, this Pashat Nigle. His children took two portions. Manasseh and Ephraim, they're thinking of B'cher. There's something connected to that. We'll look it up. Va'inyan, but there was the Inyan that now Reuven and then Yosef, the Hine. Achille between Reuven and Yosef, or the difference between Reuven and Yosef is Reuven who B'cher la'av. Reuven is the firstborn relative to his father, Ya'akov. Yosef B'cher la'eim. Yosef is his mother's firstborn, Rachel. So there we have it. Therefore, Bizman hazeh, now till the bitter is complete, I say the both of the mashpia makabel. So there's this hierarchy. Vadocher, the main thing is the male. He's the primary mover. So therefore, Shaykhin Abched Reuven. Therefore now, Bizman hazeh, who is the B'cher? Reuven. Sheb'cher la'av is his father's firstborn. Mashenkin Lasid Lovei, he doesn't give it the same of giver. But Lasid Lovei, when the female transcends the male, Ozi Abched Yosef, then the firstborn right goes to Yosef. Sheb'cher la'eim, because he's the firstborn to his mother. Okay, we need more detail. Also, how to square this with we just finished saying that Lasid Lovei, the mashpia, is no longer this hierarchy. So why the B'cher even Lasid Lovei? And Yosef. Again, we've been extolling the virtue and saying that it's all David and Malchus. So let's see.
Because Nekevet the save of Gever.
The whole beer coming. What?
Because Nekevet the save of Gever, Lasid Lovei.
Yeah, so why do you need B'cher?
The B'cher is showing like he's the Kesser, he's the Mashpia.
But Malchus is the Mashpia, not Yosef. Malchus is the Mashpia then. The Mile of David Dafke. Looks like it's going to be explained. Yeah, beautiful arichas about the B'cher. Mr. B'cher. So let's see. This is what we find. Initially, the B'cheres were with the Koyanim. They were the ones who were going to serve in the Beis Hamikdash, and they are it goes back to Esav and Yaakov. Lachri Cain, that's why Esav spurned it. He didn't want this whole avodah. So it was originally the B'cher. It was taken away from them. Why? Because of their role in the chet ha'egel. Shekoshim chet yitzadas, and that doesn't come in a vacuum. That goes back to chet yitzadas. Shisibosei, what caused the chet yitzadas? Miyitalavona was the diminishing of the moon. And why did that happen? Shenasim sakshvidas hakelim detoyo. That happened. So it goes back primary, the whole kavana of the shvidas hakelim. Kivishim mevayet. Mori basically Multamus explains if you get the bottom of Yud Bistamos. Let's finish the square brackets and Makimachim Mavur. And else was explained Shinze Koshe Machlekes Kerech Vadosai. Because Kerech wanted the priesthood. Shalul Zoisai Apchaydim Mishorsim Lakoyanim. If not for Kerechs, then the Pchaydim would at least serve the Koyanim. So the Pchaydim have this primary role. In order to fix this crookedness of Koyrach and his congregation, that he wanted the Levim to be Koyanim, nischalfu, sorry. These Halavim Mishorsim. So the Levim now become secondary with Tfeilim the Koyanim. Let's go back a second. Yeah, so the B'chayrim would have served the Koyanim. In order to fix that, he was a Levi, he wanted to be a Koyan, so now they become secondary to the Koyanim. The Leviim do. So what does he want to bring out with this? The Lechatchila, the Avodah belongs to B'chayrim, to the B'chayr. But it was taken from Chet HaEgel, and that goes all the way back to Shviras HaKelim. That's the first statement. And then he brings that this is connected to Machlekes of Koyrach. Had Koyrach not sinned, then the B'cherim would have would have somewhat of this mashpia role. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to look at this further. All right, we're going to stop here, and I'll revisit, look up these Makoides, and we'll get some clarity. Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay. A wonderful day.